Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you today. So, let me tell you a little story. 3 years ago, I had no acting work. So, because I get too bored, I looked around for a part-time job. I found one at Glasgow Airport. And during our training course, we were taken around the airport, and on Ryanair help desk was a young man called Scott. And our trainer introduced us, and he stood up. And there was something about the way he was so open and friendly and smiling and authentic that I instantly knew I like this man. I am so honored that Scott Ander has now become a very dear friend of mine, and he's here with us today to talk about the most incredible thing he has done during lockdown. Welcome, Scott!
Uh, that's
Hello, my
really
dear. I am
nice. That's
so
nice.
happy that you're here. It's true. It is true. You were beautiful. You were smart. You were eloquent. You were just beautifully spoken. And there was just a huge warmth coming from you and very professional. I instantly just felt a connection with you.
Me
So,
too.
oh, thanks. Thanks. So, lots of people have done absolutely nothing during lockdown. But no, guess what? You go and record a piano album.
It is.
I just think it's amazing. So, can you please share why?
Okay. So I've always wanted to, always. When I was younger, I always wanted to do it. And then through school, I always did music. And then I was going to go to uni to do music. And then I went to the uni audition. It was Glasgow Uni. And I don't know, I just didn't like it. I don't know, there was something a bit like regimented about it, and it seemed like you had to be like really classical and really like good in someone else's eyes to go there. So then I didn't go, and the interview went really bad, and the audition went really bad, and I had to try and like sing along to the piano they were playing, and I was so put off. So then I got the job in the airport where we met, and then throughout the last couple of years, I've been thinking about it, and I've always wanted to do it, and I've always thought it was really, really hard to do. And oh my God, I need this huge big studio, and I've no idea what to do. And then COVID came along, and then I just bought a single cable because my other friend Scott told me you don't really need much. You just need, your hands and a cable. And then I just did it because I had the time. And for a while I thought, oh my God, I don't have the time. Like, as you know, the airport shifts were 12-hour shifts for me. It
Yeah.
was like 4 a.m. You experienced it as well. And the time just kind of ran away. So now finally I had the time and I had nothing else to do. I just thought, I'm just going to do it. And I did. I don't know.
Wow. So, what do you think? What do you think of the end result?
I'm really proud of it, although I have no idea how to do it. I don't know what I did. I have no idea how to work recording stuff. It's so technical, and I'm sure if like a professional producer listened to it, they might be like, "Oh, what is this?" But I had so much fun doing it, and I'm really proud of it. And I worked really hard at it. And I get my other friends Scott and Caitlin and my friends who I've known since school really helped me along, and yeah, it was really fun. It was almost like it was a collaborative effort. It wasn't just me, but
Oh,
yeah, I'm
that's
really proud
nice.
of it. I didn't think I could ever record, and it didn't sound like I was just recording it off a phone. You know,
No,
so I'm proud of it.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Oh, well done, you.
Yeah.
So, I would love you
Okay.
to maybe play us a little moment or two of each song. We'll go through them one by one. I've just got one complaint about the album.
Okay.
It's too short.
Oh, you think?
It's beautiful.
Fine.
It's so beautiful. Honestly, every since I bought it, I have listened to it every day on the way to my temp key worker role, honestly, and
Oh,
it is beautiful. It all at once relaxes me, yet energizes me, and there's a real purity about it.
oh wow, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I feel like half of it's quite dramatic and half of it's quite relaxing. So I don't know. There's something for everyone. Hopefully.
So did you have an end game, like an end result you wanted to achieve? Or was it
No.
just, I'm just going to put out an album?
Well, no, I knew I didn't really want to do like 14 or like 15 songs because I thought, I don't know, I don't really want to make a full thing that's that long because not many people would maybe listen to it. And then I thought, I also don't want to do an EP that's like 3 or 4 songs because I've got a bit more to give. So I thought I'll just try and meet in the middle. And then I had 7 and then I just added one like the day before I tried to finish it. So then it ended up 8, which I thought was an even number.
Yeah, good number.
Yeah.
Good number. It's just that I enjoy listening to it so much. I just
Okay.
want it to carry on. And my next song that comes up in my playlist of last added is Hamilton, the soundtrack from Hamilton.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's your beautiful melody, then suddenly, woo! And I'm like, no! So I have to quickly turn down the volume. It's too much.
Oh, well, wait.
But did you?
Everyone has said that. This is what I mean. I have no idea what I'm doing. I can't master or EQ anything. So it's really quiet compared to everything else. So people
Right.
turn it up to like
Okay.
volume 100 and then the album finishes on the radio
Next
and
song.
it's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh, well.
But hey, but it doesn't matter as long as I'll know. The more I listen to it, I'll know. Oh yeah, that's the last track now.
And
Turn
it,
down the volume. See? See? Just have to keep going. So track number 1, the title. What is the title and why?
oh, the title is called An Introduction and then there's a slash and then it's And a Goodbye. Um,
Oh, really? So when it
yeah.
downloaded for me,
Oh,
the MMXX1 came first.
oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
Did you put it on shuffle?
No.
Oh, maybe.
It literally said, your pre-order is now in your Google Play Music.
Oh,
And so I just went through it, and that's the first track.
oh, see, this is what I mean. I have no idea what I'm doing. Maybe I've done. Maybe mine's different than everyone else's.
Does yours first? So your first one is literally an introduction and a goodbye.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, there you go. That kind of makes more sense.
yeah, yeah. So the first one
Doesn't it?
should be, hopefully, it's called An Introduction, then slash and a Goodbye.
Why? So why is it called that?
So I wanted something that was just an introduction. And then the second song was meant to be the introduction, but I just thought I'm going to add something else in. And then I was listening to, do you know Carl Jenkins?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He's got a song called Adiemos.
Okay.
Do you know it? No? It's really good.
I probably know it to hear it
Yeah.
rather than the name.
And my dad used to play it all the time on tape in the car. And it just reminded me of like a desert or nature or like, I don't know, just something that seemed a bit more simple. So again, it was going to be an introduction, but then I just wanted it to sound kind of like, my dad said it was kind of reminded him of flying over a forest or like a desert. So I just thought it's kind of like a goodbye to like the natural world, and then the album goes into like this really weird world that we're in now. So that's why it was kind of like and a goodbye to nature.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So powerful.
Yeah.
So let's listen to a few seconds of it. So tell me, was there an actual inspiration for this album?
Yeah. So, well, quarantine, COVID,
Yeah.
the Black Lives Matter movement,
Cool.
and then the documentary on Netflix called The 13th Amendment. Have you seen it?
No, I've seen 13th come up,
Yeah,
but I had just gone through a whole spate of watching really heavy movies, and I
yeah,
thought I need a break.
yeah. I don't know if it's
So
called just the 13th or the 13th Amendment, but it's kind of based on. So the documentary kind of showed you what the 13th Amendment really was, which is like the abolishment of slavery, which on the surface looks really good. And you think, oh my God, this is really cool. But then the wording of the amendment of the Constitution, and don't quote me, this might be kind of wrong, but it was something along the lines of um, slavery is abolished and less punishable for a crime. So really, it's not really abolished because all they have to do is lock someone up for their bumper hanging off and then they go into jail and then they work for free and then it's just like a modern day slave labor.
um,
So
mm,
the album is kind of based on like what would the next amendment be that we all think is going to be great, but then if we look back, did it actually help us or did it only benefit like a really small amount of people?
yeah, well,
Yeah,
exactly. And isn't it interesting because don't most things tend to benefit just a few people?
yeah. And I've never really like realized it or learned about politics until kind of now. Like I did it in school and I was interested in it, um, but I was never really like subjected to it in a way that you were just kind of forced to watch it because sometimes we like are busy or we go out and
Uh-huh.
we have fun, but
Yeah.
now because we're all in our houses and we don't really have anything else to do, I think we're now actually we have the time to look at other people's lives and kind of see what's going on in the world,
Mm,
especially in America. And I just think it's an interesting time for people to learn, and you've just now you've like learned what kind of person people are. Does that make sense? Because you've all got the
sure.
time to either learn
Yeah.
and educate yourself or still pretend it doesn't happen. So I don't know. I just think
Mm.
it's an interesting time.
Isn't it amazing, though, that by actually being contained on lockdown, that in many ways your mind and viewpoints have expanded,
Yeah.
so
How
you've
do you,
grown
how do you find it?
outwardly?
You've always had like a kind of view of like you don't really care and people are people and like you've never had a
Uh-huh.
prejudiced view. So do you feel like you've changed in any way, or have you been educated in that anyway? Because I haven't really.
Uh-huh. No, the thing for me, because I lived in Hong Kong for a long time.
Yeah.
So, and even in England, I had lots of friends, like lots of black friends. Black friends were really important to me because they really helped me become who I am. They stripped away layers. I would hide myself because I had had a very conservative upbringing. So, and literally one black friend, she went, "Oh my God, you're wearing clothes that are too so old fashioned." She didn't say it in that unkindly way, but that was the basic end result. And she got me into mini dresses, and
Oh.
she said, "You've got gorgeous legs." And I literally only wore like half length skirts before that. I hid who I was, so
Oh.
modest. It's all changed now, darling. But like, and that, so that was from, I was 19. No, yeah, 8, yeah, so 18 when I met her. And she was really instrumental in beginning to shape me. So when I left for Hong Kong 2 years, 2.5 years later, then I met loads of other people.
Mhm.
Obviously so many Hong Kong Chinese friends, but friends from all over the world of every color. It was just so magnificent to be in this beautiful, beautiful melting pot. And actually, I was one of the few white people,
Okay.
so that was really interesting. Often there would just be me, so I was the foreigner,
Yeah.
I was the Westerner, I was, the minority. I hate that word, but it was really interesting. And I think it's very good for you because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you do learn, like you said, people are people.
yeah. Like my friend Simone asked me like when all this well is still going on. It's not like it's just stopped.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly.
she said, "Do you have any black friends?" And I don't. And I don't think it's anyone's fault, but then you think, is it? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't have any black friends. I don't know. I'm not close with anyone who's, Asian. Like, all my friends are white, and it's like that's fine. But is that like my fault, or is it just where I live? Or like, it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
you think,
exactly.
yeah, you think like Glasgow is a melting pot, which I mean it is. But then you
Uh-huh.
look at your surrounding friends and family, and you think, I don't actually know anyone who is different from me other than the people I see on like podcasts or TV, and it's just interesting.
Mm,
And like my other friends might have like one black friend, and so
yeah.
it's I don't know. And then you think you're so connected to this movement, and you think like you know it all, but then actually you cannot. You just can't.
But I think the difference is, okay, you might not have had the opportunity to make a, friend with a black friend or a person of color, but your heart is open. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not like some people would go, oh no, no, I imagine. You
yeah,
know what I mean? I
yeah,
imagine there's people like that.
yeah,
So, you know what I mean? It's you're open. It's fact. It's just circumstance, and you
yeah,
live in,
yeah. Maybe it is.
and
Yeah,
you're from a very small, small area in Scotland.
yeah, that's true.
My black friend in in London, she always says, "There's not many black people in Scotland because we're not stupid. We don't like the cold." I love her for that. I love her for that. I go, me too, honey. I don't like the cold either. I'm surprised I'm still here. So I love that. I really love that. And what's interesting is like see an intro and a goodbye. I find it such a beautiful track. It's just I just think it's so there's not one track I don't like, I have to say. I really yeah, love it. Have you got a favorite track?
Yeah, I probably like. I need to look at the names. I probably like New Leaders, uh,
Oh, okay.
or The Next Amendment, which is the album. Do you have a favorite one?
I've got a favorite.
Mhm.
Can I tell you when it comes?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. Okay, let's do it. So let's listen to just a moment of two of MMXX1, which means
2021.
there you go. So track number 3, The World We Created. How I look upon this track is as if it's a sacred lull.
Okay.
It's just so rhythmic. So what is it about the world we created? How do you look on it? Because from going from what you just said, there's a part of the world we created that's actually really ugly.
Mhm.
So why is this song so beautiful?
So, I don't. Well, thank you for saying it so beautiful. Um, so it goes from these kind of like dramatic songs. The first four are quite dramatic. I hope if it's the right order.
Yeah, yeah.
They go in that order and they're quite dramatic and they're a bit more layered. And there's some kind of more computery kind of sounds in them. If you have headphones on, you can kind of hear things in the background. And then it goes into the world we created. So for me, it was just kind of like, I don't know, I think one day it was just during lockdown and everyone was locked down, and it was at the point where I think it was just after the Boris Johnson announcement when we were put into lockdown as a country. And I don't know, it was just really quiet. And even though it seemed so chaotic that we were about to be locked down, which is something so strange and it sounds so
Uh-huh.
scary, but then the place was so quiet, like living in the city or 5 minutes away from, you would think, I don't know, like if I was to watch the news in a movie and hear like lockdown, I would think people would be running with suitcases and like trying to get to their families. It sounds really dramatic. And then it just was so quiet. And then I just thought, well, is this what we've created? Have we created a really bad thing, or in general in the world, or have we actually maybe created a bit of peace? So it was just those two things. It's kind of sad to listen to,
Mhm.
but then people seem to really enjoy it. They think it's really relaxing. But for me, it was a sad song, but then people really like it. So I don't know.
But sad can be a great thing because it's just an expression, isn't it, of our
Yeah.
emotion at that time. And you, especially you know, this music was coming through you, and that's how you were feeling. What I felt, because I didn't go into lockdown, I got, you know, this temp key worker job. So when I was driving to work, which is about 50 minutes from me, I'm still there, actually loving it, so that's cool. When I was driving to work, those first, you know, good few weeks, it was deserted on the motorway
Yeah.
and the roads. And you know those people that talk about zombie apocalypse coming?
Yeah.
I absolutely drove thinking, oh my word, this is exactly what that feels like.
Yeah.
It was eerie as anything,
Yeah.
really eerie.
It's so scary, and I don't know. It was just the two, like, okay, this is super scary, and if this virus was like a thing, like if you could see it and it was this big green ball of mucus, it would be so terrifying. But because it's invisible, like it's such a scary concept because it is like a zombie apocalypse. This thing is coming and it's going to infect everyone, but then it's invisible, and all we have to do is kind of like do our own thing and be safe and stay indoors. So then it was these two things of, well, this is really scary, but also it's invisible, and now we're all really quiet and no one's going out, so it's really peaceful at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it
the
was
old paradox, eh?
yeah, of the two. And then the rain
Uh-huh.
at the start was just, I don't know, the rain outside my window. I just recorded it because I wanted a song with rain and I couldn't find any online that were in 3 seconds and you could hear the loop, so I just looped my own. I don't know, but
Oh, nice.
yeah. I
It's
like,
beautiful. So let's have a listen. It's
okay.
gorgeous. So song number 4, what I have written is,
Okay.
it is like the theme tune to a magnificent movie. And even the title, Dystopia,
Okay.
sounds like a movie.
Okay.
How cool is that?
Bye.
So, any extra information about the song itself?
Okay, yes, but this again might confuse you because it should be the track list should be um it's an introduction to the introduction and then it's Utopia. So you
Oh,
yeah, so Utopia is at the start of the album after the introduction and then Dystopia is at the end.
oh, there you go. Right.
So it was meant to be. I
Oh,
always had that idea at the start before I played anything because I thought, what if you enter this like land of everything's really cool and then we all kind of go downhill and the end of it's like, well, what do we do now? So um yeah, and the interesting thing about Dystopia is it's the same chord pattern as Utopia, it just sounds slightly different. So the ending of Utopia and Dystopia are the same, but I don't think you would realise that. And I think I pitched it up one note so it wasn't too obvious. But I played
oh,
the
that's
exact
cool.
so I just thought you can have the exact same thing and they can either be it can be really cool sounding and really happy, or it can be really scary and sad, or a bit slower. And I just decided to make it almost the same song, but then try and make it different, and then see if people noticed. I don't know.
Oh, that's so interesting. Well, now you say that, I'm going to have to, number one, give Google Play into trouble for like shuffling it on my behalf, thanks. But I'm going to go and change the order into the order that it is meant to be in and
Okay.
see if that makes a difference to my listening
Maybe it could.
pleasure.
But then it's interesting you've listened to it in a different order because that'd be cool to see
Yeah,
in order.
yeah. So now instead of me saying track number blah, I'm going to say, so what is the next track?
Okay. Oh.
Tell me, what do you want? Ideally, what would you like to happen to this album?
So someone asked me this last night, and I don't know. I think everyone wants people to listen to your stuff, or like when you work hard on something, or you think, oh my god, like if I didn't make this, I would like be like, oh, this is really cool. I found this thing. Do you want to listen to it? Like if it was my friends. So I would hope that people would listen to it, maybe expand. But honestly, if it doesn't, the only goal for this, and this is kind of shallow, is to make enough money off it to buy the recording software to make another one because I had to use the free
Oh,
free trial. So if I think I would love people to listen to it, but I think this could be a good starter to try and invest in making better music and try and keep progressing. Um, and I was thinking, like my dad said, "How many followers do you have?" And I said, "Oh, like 9." And he was like, "No, I checked. It was like 35 or something." And it got me thinking. I would rather have like 30 people who loved it than I don't know, like thousands of people who just kind of press play and then next. So I don't really know.
okay.
I suppose I would love for people to listen to it and want more. But then I think just the process of it has been enough, just maybe because it's been a quarantine time and it's been time to fill. I don't
Yeah.
actually know. I don't know.
Well, that's cool. But at least I think, I mean, it sounds like you want people to connect to it
Oh
in
yeah,
whatever way.
yeah. I
And
think I think this time has
I
taught
definitely
everyone.
have.
Yeah, like this time has taught everyone what they enjoy doing. And again, not to talk about money, but the furlough thing that everyone is on, everyone's kind of getting paid to be at home, which is like a bless. It's so we're so fortunate to have that. But I think because I was doing the piano thing, whilst there was a bit of a wage coming in, it kind of felt like I was recording music and getting paid. So
Yeah.
yeah, and before I was like, oh, I would love to, make loads of money and just do that and be like, oh, look what I've done, everyone. Like, haha, I told you all. But now I'm like, oh, if I could just make the equivalent and just be comfy and just maybe make the same wage that I would make on a day job doing that, I think it
Uh-huh.
gives me a different perspective of, oh, actually, you don't need to have, you can just do what you enjoy. And if you have enough to feed yourself, then it's probably fine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What software did you use?
Logic Pro.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes,
Logic
well,
Pro.
it's specific to Apple, I think. It's kind of like the
Okay.
adult version of GarageBand, but I
Okay.
don't know
No,
how
not
to
heard
work it. I just
of.
I just recorded stuff on
So even though it's the wrong track
it.
in
Okay.
the wrong order, you know, there's no such thing as a mistake, right? There's only opportunities for growth. Let's listen to Dystopia for a moment
Okay.
and the magic you created with the free version of Logic Pro. So, track number 5, I have
Okay.
Utopia, which I've now obviously learned is incorrect, is in the not correct order. And how I feel about this song is because it's so different with that rhythm, that whole rhythm going on over it, is it would be ideal for like a sacred circle, a healing circle, or an interpretive dance.
Okay. Is that because of
So
the
what
snaps and the clicks?
I think so.
Okay.
I can what I envisage when I listen is like a circle and feet tapping with your feet.
Okay.
And obviously people could, you know, flamenco with hands almost, but like that's what I envisage.
Well, it was okay. So I had a list of things that I thought, oh, I'm gonna write a list of things that I enjoy or like I want to write about or play about. And then I'll make the album on that. So one was like Kilmacombe, so the village I grew up in. Another one was, I don't know, like going out with friends. Another one was like,
Important, important.
yeah, and one was like school. And I was like, these are things that I really like and some things that I miss. So I'm gonna write an album about that. And that never happens, obviously, because you're forcing it. But the one that did work was Utopia, and the snaps and or the stomps and the claps or clicks um reminded me of school, because I was like, what would happen if, like you said, an interpretive dance? It reminded me of like an assembly hall, and we were all in school, and people were stomping up to the the school gate, and the clicks were like all the pens on the tables, and in my head it was like,
Oh,
what if the whole class
cool.
were, snapping and clicking? So I don't know. I was like, I'll go with that because it reminds me of school, and that was the only one that I managed to play that was on the original list. And I thought the stomps and clicks are like a herd of people, and it reminded me of school classroom noises.
That's wild. And I'm now just imagining all those people at home going, oh my goodness, not many people enjoy school, right?
I loved school.
That,
Great school.
that is so cool. So what was it about school you loved?
Oh well, I went to two schools. So
Okay.
my first
Well,
school,
at the same time?
huh?
At the same time?
No, so my first school closed down because it was
That's
too
good.
old. Um,
Oh,
so I was there from first to fourth year and met like amazing friends who still are my main friends today. Like we haven't really stopped being friends, which I feel it's kind of rare. Like a lot of people kind of just kind of grow apart. So I feel like we're
yeah,
a
yeah,
lucky
sure.
friend group. And then fifth and sixth year, we went to another school, and then we met like the additional friend group, and we're now the one big friend group, and we all met in music, or most of us met in music, and we just loved it. I loved fifth and sixth year. I love sixth year so much. I think I did like two subjects because I was so bad at biology. I was so bad at science. I couldn't do numbers. Couldn't do maths. I hate anything fact. I don't know. I just don't like it. But I loved music, and I loved modern studies where it was like opinions and people, and then music was just. I don't know. It was just something that was a bit more interpretive rather than just like numbers and figures and memory. So I loved sixth year. They just I don't know, and that's where I met Simone in Clydeview.
Oh, cool. Oh, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
and then
Okay.
I love school. I never had a really bad school experience. I think everyone kind of goes through ups and downs, but I love school. I just thought I was so lucky to have an amazing friend group. Did you like school?
Neat. Um, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting time. I think most of my life, I think when I was younger, I was very serious and I took myself very seriously. Um, so I looked on it very much as an experiment. We were in school in a fabulous school in Scotland originally, called Bankhead Academy, and it was very contemporary. There was no blackboards; it was all overhead projectors,
Oh,
and you know, this is like years ago,
yeah.
and no classrooms. It was all open plan. There was a drama class, and it was like an amphitheater, and it was all stage, all the seating was like that, amazing, with the most beautiful acoustics. And I think had I stayed there, I think I would have been very nurtured.
Oh,
And as a really shy, then unconfident person, I think I would have probably really been held and nurtured. We did Latin, just, I mean, it was amazing. And then we moved to England when we were 12 and a half, my twin brother and I. And we went from one extreme to the other. And I was walking through the court. So first of all, it was suddenly, we went from an academy to a boys and girls school. And so suddenly my twin brother and I were split up for the first time in our lives.
Oh.
And I was walking through the corridor with the deputy headmistress, and she said, I said to her, when is the Latin class? Because I loved Latin. And she said, oh, you don't get anything like that here. And then walked into RE, which we didn't even have religious education. We had social education, which covered RE and also politics. So I just think it would have been a very progressive school, my original one. And then suddenly I'm in RE. And I walked in, sat at the back of the class where it was the only spare seat. And the teacher, in front of everyone, this was my second day, she went, Glynis Wozniak, what kind of name is that?
In an RE class?
And exactly, where's the love, right? And I instantly felt shamed. So it took me a little while to gel with that way of being. But I had a wonderful deputy head teacher called Miss Hobday, who saw something in me when I was started hanging about with, the naughty girls. And she rescued me. She gave me the role of lost property monitor. And that's all I needed. And I think she saw, here's someone that needs and enjoys responsibility. And I felt important.
Yeah.
I did. And I was very, very conscientious. And that's what changed me. Tell me the name of your music teacher.
Oh, in high school?
Yeah.
Well, I had Miss Forsyth, Mr. Bowman, and Mr. Beck. They were the three.
Oh.
But I did have a piano teacher and a voice teacher who I went to for years and years and years, and she taught me piano and voice, and her name was Mrs. Badger, and she was the coolest.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, and she always used to say this thing with, like, I was, that way when you have to learn something like a piano class or a bit of music, and you have to go, and like, it's a Tuesday night, it's 7 o'clock, and that's the thing when you're younger, and it became like a chore. So sometimes I would be like, I'm too sick, or I don't want to go. But when I did,
we've all been there, darling.
Yeah, but when I did go and when I did really well, she always used to say, Scott, you've made me a happy badger.
Oh my god!
I know. So I know. So I had like good music teachers, and I still actually see some of the music teachers now, like out and about. Now I'm older, and I can go out.
So cool!
Yeah, and
I hope you sent them the link so they can buy your album.
Well, I put it on Facebook, and one of the Miss Forsyth, she did like it, so maybe she's bought it. I don't know.
I hope so. So let's have a few little chords from the beautiful Sacred Circle, and feel free to have an interpretive dance. Utopia. So I am amazed to learn that you did all this producing with a free trial of Logic Pro. It's unbelievable, because I know you spoke about the sound. It is quiet, but it's not so quiet that you strain to hear it. We've all got volume buttons, it's not difficult to turn it up. But how did you do that? How did you sit there and go, okay, here's my piece. Oh, and I'm going to add the rain there, or the feet clapping there. How did you come up with that?
Well, so most of them are I just kind of, okay, so most of them I would sit all day and I'd be like, I know what I want to make, and I would sit for ages, and I would try like a certain like stompy beat or a certain melody, and I would just like after a while I would hate it, and then it would always be after like 7 hours of trying to do something, of like ripping the MIDI cable out of the laptop and going, I just can't be bothered. Um, I would just go, you know what, I'm just gonna try something else, and I would plug it in and then just do something random, and then that would always end up the thing that you would go with.
Amazing.
So a lot of it would be just trying something random and then layering it with something else random. Hence why I can't play any of it back unless I memorize it. So I need to memorize it. But also, when I listen to songs, I don't know, I think everyone nowadays has a shorter attention span when it comes to music, and I'm probably in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you notice now songs are shorter and shorter, and a lot of them are
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
2 minutes or
Yeah,
less,
good
and
point.
because it's easier to stream, and I think we're all guilty of having a short attention span now. So when it comes to like
Sorry, what was that, Scott?
oh,
Yeah, my attention. I just lost, just lost my attention for a
have you,
moment.
have you jammed? I was saying, yeah. So I when I was listening to it back, I was like, okay, it's been 10 seconds and we need to put something in this, otherwise people are not going to like it, or maybe I'll get bored of it. So the noises of, there's a couple like kind of fake choir voices, which is just a keyboard, choir noise on the Logic Pro, or a pan flute. There's a couple pan flutes. I don't know, just to give it a
Yeah.
bit of texture and to make it a bit more interesting, because after a few minutes, some people would be like, okay, now what? So I just wanted to kind of keep it interesting but make it subtle. So it's just, I like just subtly layered it a little bit to the point where it sounded okay, but I didn't get confused at what to do.
Okay, that's honest. I appreciate that. Honestly, there's no way that you would ever think you didn't have like producer experience.
I really don't have any. And Scott McClucky, my other friend, I asked him so many questions to the point where I think he was like, oh my God. Just silly questions. Like, I would be like, what does this blue bit mean? Or what's this yellow line? And he'd be like, oh, it's the EQ. If you turn it down to 40 hertz and you can turn up to 2500
That's
hertz.
cool.
And I'd have no idea. If it sounded fine in the ears to me, then I was like, whatever.
Yeah, cool. Well, big up to Scott and
Yeah,
McClucky then for
I
giving
am
you
being honest
help.
though. I just wanted to keep it interesting, and I didn't want people to get bored. And I tried to make it sound as professional, whilst not knowing really what to do. So I don't know. It just
Yeah, honestly, it's beautiful. There's no way. You know, the pieces that are more ambient,
yeah.
I think they are so much like George Winston,
Oh, I've not
who's
heard of him.
one of the greatest piano players, like contemporary piano players. Absolutely stunning.
Well, that's a compliment.
So honestly, it's true. I'm gonna tweet him this interview. Just maybe he can buy a copy.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
But it's true. It's just you've done such a magnificent job. I'm really proud of you, and I'm glad that you're proud of you. You
Thank
know, that's just so important, really. So you said New Leaders is your favorite track or one of them, is that right?
Yes.
Let's listen.
Okay.
So I told you that I would tell you my favorite track.
Okay.
The Landlord's Game.
Really? That's like the first one that I
Yeah.
finished.
I love it. I love it. And what I think, I wrote it down, is it would make the most perfect Netflix TV, whatever, theme tune to a really gritty detective-ish-esque series.
Oh, cool.
What's your thoughts behind this?
The Landlord's Game. So initially it was when the protests were happening in America, and then they branched out to other countries. I would see lots of photos. I don't know if you've seen it. There was a photo of a guy with an American flag behind a wine and spirit shop in Minneapolis. And it's at night and things are on fire. And I don't know, I was kind of looking at that thinking, if that was me out the window, like looking at Glasgow, and the protests have died down, or for the night they've kind of stopped, but there's fire and it's kind of eerie, but there's just something strange about it. It's something that almost looks like The Purge, you know, the movie The Purge.
I haven't watched it, no. Is it
It,
scary?
yeah, it's kind of like there's this like night a year where the country's lawless, so you can do what you want. And it was,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and it was just an interesting, like, if I was to look at that, it looks creepy, it looks scary, but there was something really kind of almost quiet and peaceful about watching an ember fire at night. You know, like when you're younger, you go to a bonfire, or you go to like fireworks show, or you sit in the garden with a fire. But now, when you're a bit older, when you look at fires now in quarantine and stuff, you think, oh well, actually, there's fires because people are dying. So I don't know. I just thought, again, there was something kind of peaceful about looking at those photos in a really strange way, but then it was also scary. And the Landlord's Game was the original name of the game Monopoly.
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, I was going to name it Monopoly, and I thought there must be a better name. So I googled Monopoly, and I found out it comes from a game called the Landlord's Game, about people monopolizing it, if that's a word.
Yeah, of course, makes sense.
So yeah, I just thought it was interesting because the way that the track list goes is, it's the next amendment, which is the title of the album, and what are these politicians going to do that we all think is amazing, and then the next track is the Landlord's Game. So people have just monopolized on us. So it's just a mix of things.
Wow, love it. So let's listen to my favorite track. So I think you've put so much thought into this, and it's interesting you say, like, there you were 7 hours a day, sometimes really struggling, and when things didn't work, and you tried it again, and you were inspired. What I notice when I write, yes, I can sit down and write and just, okay, I have to write a show, or I have to write a poem, or I have to write, a wedding speech. But for example, when I wrote my TEDx talk, I wasn't writing it. I was thinking, what am I doing? Time is drawing on. And I went on tour in York, and it suddenly came to me in rhyme. You have to do your TEDx talk in rhyme.
I love that TEDx talk.
What?
I love that.
And I couldn't believe it. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I emailed and the organizer, and she said, yes, by all means, go for it. And because I listened to that inspiration, as soon as I went, yes, I there and then, laptop out, and wrote a massive chunk of it. And I think that's what happens when we listen, when we go with that energy, that beautiful creative energy, and it just comes to us. So, I'm not surprised that that's the way you worked, and why it worked so well, because you listened, you put to the side, oh, it's not working, and then you just allowed it to flow.
Yeah, and I think when you're really trying, it probably never is ever going to happen. Like if you wake up and think, I'm going to write this amazing thing, it's going to be so good, or if you're going to be like, I'm going to play. I mean, that's a nice thought to have. But then if I was to wake up and think, I'm going to make the most amazing piano song, and it's going to be one of these songs where it's like a Beethoven song, it's going to be so good. It's never ever going to happen, is it? And you probably know that as well. So if you
Mhm.
let just things
Yeah.
happen, then it's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think art, maybe, I've never thought about this, but maybe it's like nature.
Mhm.
Art is like nature in that we can't control it.
Yeah,
We have to flow with it. We have to go with it.
yeah.
And when we do that, then magic happens, you know? And I just think, honestly, it is so magical. And the day that your album came out, I went on Twitter to see that Ennio Morricone had died. And I just feel if there is anyone looking over you for your writing now and what you go on to do with it, it is Morricone. I just think you're absolutely fabulous, honestly.
Thanks, Glenn.
It's just, it's so beautiful, your work. So the title track, The Next Amendment, is that supposed to be last?
No, that's supposed to be. You've got a whole different story. That should be third.
Oh, should it? Okay, so what is the last track?
So the last track is meant to be Dystopia.
Okay, okay. So yeah, oh, okay. So that does make sense
Yeah.
actually.
So yeah, the next amendment is just the same as the album. It was kind of like, what's going to be the next thing that sounds really good, but then it actually doesn't help anyone at all. Or we only discover like years later that, oh, actually that didn't actually help us. Like we thought that was really good, but then like you think if you watch the 13th or like read up on it, you think, oh, abolish slavery, oh, this is so good, but then because that sounds so good, you probably wouldn't look at the next part of it, or you just, I think when people are so desperate for change, like they would think, you know, if you looked at the headline, it would be like slavery is abolished or whatever. I don't know. You'd be like, oh, this is so good, but it's kind of like the
Yeah.
terms and conditions of anything. You never read the small print. We all do it. So it's like the terms and conditions of life. Like the title sounds great, but then really there's always an agenda, and I just think that's either a good thing. The next amendment could be they're going to eradicate all bad, and that's probably what we all want. But then I don't know, is that realistic? Or the next amendment could be something that we think looks good, but if we've not read the small print, then it might not benefit us in the long run. What do you think?
Oh, interesting. I like it. So pay attention to the details. And what's fascinating about that is Abraham Maslow, one of my favorite psychologists through the eons, wrote, "Too much light makes a very dark shadow."
Ah,
In other words, if you're all good or it's all roses and sweetness, we're essentially ignoring, you know, the dark, deep side of us, which is there until we really heal it, until we really look at it.
mm,
You know, is there. And that's why so many people, for example, snap at their partner or their children or whomever in life because they're just projecting stuff, and that person they're faced with is just, oh, hello. You
yeah,
know, mirror, that's a wonderful thing about life. We are all mirrors of each other.
mm,
And I love that quote. Too much light makes a very dark shadow. So if you come to me, unless I really sense on a deep level that you've really worked on your stuff, if you are very, I am, I'm going to have a question mark. Doesn't mean I'll like you any less. I will just feel this stuff there that's hidden that can potentially hurt you in a way because you know you're stuffing it down.
yeah,
So yeah, balance, right? Everything
yeah,
in life is a
yeah.
balance.
What do you think we are going to do as a world moving forward? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think? What do you think about the movements? I think they're really good, but do you think they will succeed against these? It's really funny to me because the people who don't want peace are, well, I don't know, they might be a really large group, but to me it feels like the people who want peace and want equality completely outweigh the people who don't, but it seems like the people who don't are so much more powerful, and it's like the idea,
Yeah.
but are we going to do it? And it's just a funny, like, I don't know, it seems like a gamble. Do you think we'll achieve, like, it's not going to go away overnight, but do you think, what do you think is going to happen?
What I like to see about Black Lives Matter is so many white people coming and
Mm-hmm.
standing together and speaking up and
Yeah,
speaking out. I really appreciate to see white protesters amongst black. I
yeah.
really, because we are one world.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Maslow, again, we are one tribe. I had it on my kindergarten wall for years. We are one tribe and we are. And that's a beautiful vision, I think. And the major issue is the negativity. Those people that are against have a louder voice because the media loves to create drama.
Yeah.
So if you, and the same with COVID, I haven't listened to anything. I've genuinely followed my heart for what felt right for me with this whole thing. I couldn't have stayed at home because I would have just gone insane.
Yeah.
I need to be doing stuff. And I was out there in my temp job having a great time and, being uplifting and learning loads as a result. So to me, COVID's another thing. I'm very curious about governments really laying down, you mustn't do this, and because none of it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
and the mass hysteria, none of that makes sense to me. So I want to encourage people to listen to yourself first. What feels right to you? Tune in. If you don't want to wear a mask, for example, don't wear a mask. If you do want to wear a mask, wear a mask. But maybe look at why you're doing that. Are there genuine health benefits? Because most of the real info out there is actually they're harmful. And you shouldn't be breathing in your carbon dioxide and etc. So it amazes me suddenly in Scotland, you're supposed to be wearing a mask. That it actually blows my mind, to be honest. So I would just go to yourself. What feels right to you? Tune in. You do know the answer, and put off the news. Put away the newspaper. Like media has got they've got deep talents, and I think that's the danger. Whereas if you go out and speak to your neighbor or pass by the black person in the street and go, "Good morning,"
Mm-hmm.
connect on that level. There's another fabulous book called Minding the Body, Mending the Mind by Dr. Joan Borisenko. And she says, when we say we're against something, we create a war. We create a battle. Battles therefore lead to war. So I'm very wary about saying against. I'm against racism.
Okay.
Because although I am against, putting down someone else, I am for equality.
Ah, okay.
And so can you hear the difference? And yet, when you go to protests are nearly all exclusively, I'm against this and I'm against that. I'm against war and I'm against racism. So am I, but I'm telling you what, I'm more for peace and I'm more for equality.
Ah,
And by doing that, I'm not I'm not tearing. See, can you feel the energy difference? It's huge. And I think if we went from that, paid, heed to how we think, how we feel, first of all, I think we've got huge potential
yeah.
as a species to be hugely open. But are we ready?
I know.
No, we're not, because so many people listen to whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, the other day someone posted and sent it to me, this guy saying, oh, this whole area is going to be knocked down and they're building a mosque. And they're immigrants and they're getting such and such benefits. And I replied saying, actually, immigrants get zero benefits. So I already know that's rubbish. And now is he just also trying to fearmonger by saying mosques? And even if they're building a mosque, why is it an issue?
It's so
You know,
weird.
people, you know, they hear, oh, a mosque, or they hear Islam, for example, and they think, oh my God, terrorists. Islam's got nothing to do with terrorism. There's terrorists in every organization and religion, if you want to look at it that way.
And
So we need to filter, but from our heart, I think, instead of our intellect. Does
yeah,
that make sense?
it does. And I think I was speaking to my friend Simone about all of this, and it's so funny because you get these people who, well, I suppose it goes for anyone. Like, you're never going to learn or change your opinion or evolve if you don't let other opinions and other
Mm.
people's point of views in. So it's kind of like you can be really, really conservative, and you can almost, you know, you see it on the news, and you see it on documentaries, and you see it in places. People are racist, but a lot of the problem is they're in places where they don't allow another opinion to exist. So how can you
Yeah.
ever change if you don't let yourself
Yeah,
learn? And it's like you get a lot of people who
absolutely.
say the wrong words or say things that are maybe like a bit insensitive, not to me, but maybe to another group. But if you say, oh, that's not really that correct because I've learned on this, and the person who told me that that's probably not a nice thing to say is from that minority, and it's really weird because you get people that go, people are just so sensitive. And it's
Yes,
there's
exactly.
an unwillingness to,
Exactly.
there's an
Yeah.
unwillingness to
Or
learn.
yes. Or this, you're a liberal. Liberal surely means I'm free,
Yeah.
right? I don't know why it's an insult. Or that you know, everything's too PC. And I say it's respect. It's
Yeah.
about respecting another race or another religion. It's not about, you know, being politically correct. It's literally why were white people ever in blackface? Why was that
Weird.
ever okay?
No.
Why was slavery ever okay? And what do people say? They go, oh, but you know, Africa, they all sold it. No, a tiny percentage sold. And yet that's the way they justify it.
That's right.
Why are they justifying? Why do they need to justify abuse
Yeah.
and their own superiority?
Yeah.
You know, why I never ever will understand why explorers could go and find another country and then suddenly go, "Ah, because I eat with a knife and fork, I am more superior to you."
And it's still this. It's almost this. This is what the album's about. It's almost the same now, apart from we've gone like Megatron, and now instead of eating with a knife and fork, it's like, well, I'm a billionaire, so I'm better than you. And it's kind of
Mm.
scary because it's like, will it change? And I don't know. It's a scary. I just think this whole year is really scary in general.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's so easy to go in down the fear route, and that's why I switched off the news. I rarely watch TV anyway, but I switched off the television and news a long time ago during this whole lockdown because it was right, and you know it's gonna kill you, and that where actually the percentage of death is very low if you look at it that way. Focus on how many people have healed from it instead of how many people have died from it, because people do die every day. So if not this, then maybe something else. But even if not, why make that your focus? We've got to live in trust and we've got to live in faith. Otherwise, you literally will say, what is the point of living at all? And
Yeah.
I just think, to me, the thing that will save the world is music.
Well,
You do not need language, you
I
need
quoted you
music.
last night. I was speaking to someone and I said, my friend Glynis said, you could listen to a song in Italian and not have a clue what it says or what it means, but you could love it, or you could cry to it, or you could be like, this is so good, but you have no idea what they say. And it just goes to show, like, it's almost the opposite of maths, because maths in every language is the same, and I hate it. I can't stand maths. But then,
Me too. Maths and I are not friends, by
yeah,
the
me
way.
neither. Oh, I hate maths. But then music is so different. But then you don't have to really. understand it to appreciate it, which is the complete
Uh-huh.
opposite.
Exactly. So you quoted an Italian piece of music then. Imagine meeting an Italian person for the first time and hearing an Italian song.
Mhm.
Suddenly you have huge love for that person
Yeah.
because music opens our hearts.
Mhm.
And I absolutely believe that. Scott, I think you're amazing. And you, with this album, have done your bit towards healing the world. So well done, you.
I love
Beautiful.
you. I
I
love
just want to thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you.
And I really want us to play The Next Amendment as our going out track, even though obviously it shouldn't be last. But it's so beautiful. The whole album is beautiful. So where can we all buy it? Obviously, I bought my copy already, but where can everybody buy it?
You can get it on Spotify or Amazon Music or Google Play, or you can just stream it on YouTube or Spotify or yeah, Apple Music. You can have it. You can have it for free, or you can buy it. It's up to you.
Oh, cool. So the artwork, your album
Yeah.
cover,
Yeah.
who created that?
So the artwork is by my really good friend Caitlin McLean, and she's a really good painter. And the artwork is based on a photo of me and my friend Simone in upstate New York at our family friend's house. And I just thought
Cool.
we were looking at the world, but actually, when I've been to America, it's been beautiful. So,
Mm.
yeah, she based it off that. We weren't actually holding fire torches, but yeah, she's amazing, and she painted it obviously by hand, completely from scratch. And she's so talented, and it was just a collaborative effort. I love it, and if you zoom in, you can see every paint stroke and every
Mm.
color, and she's so great. I'm so thankful she's done
Oh, that's so fab,
it.
so fab. Darling, I love you so much, and
I
I
love you.
absolutely honor you for creating this absolutely beautiful work of art.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
listen to The Next Amendment, and I will see you on a movie screen really soon.
Okay. You'll be in the movie.
Thanks. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.